All right, so a different video for you guys today. We've posted a ton of videos of actually working with dogs, how to do certain things, but today we're going to be talking about training you, the owner of the dog, which is just as, if not more important. Any issue that your dog has, it's your fault. You have encouraged your dog to do that. No matter what it is, we give you some awesome examples. Make sure you stay to the end. They're really helpful tips, and I guarantee you this is going to change your life if you follow them. So everything you do with your dog in your dog's life is either encouraging a certain behavior or discouraging a certain behavior. I work with owners all the time, and it's so important that they understand this because dogs are wild animals. Dogs live out in the wild, and us as human beings have brought dogs in and tried to tame them and train them to do all these things. And it is so important that we understand that everything your dog does is because they have been encouraged to do that or discouraged to do the opposite. An example, leash pulling. Your dog pulls on a leash wherever they want to go. The only reason they've done that is because they've seen something, they wanted to get somewhere, they pulled on the leash, and they got exactly where they wanted to go. So you might have done nothing. You might have just let your dog pull you to that place. But your dog got reinforced, right? Your dog wanted to get somewhere, they got somewhere by pulling, and so next time they want to get somewhere, they're going to pull. If you tell your dog to stay and your dog has a really good stay for a couple minutes, and then you forget about your dog and walk away, and then your dog gets off the place board or wherever they're staying and they don't have an issue, totally fine. Your dog's stay is only going to be that good, and when you need your dog to stay for longer, they're not going to, because you've encouraged, I walk out of the room, all rules are off. And so it is so important. I work with owners with this all the time. It's really important that owners understand this. So another thing I wanted to cover is if you give your dog an inch, they will every single time take a mile. When you tell your dog to do something, you have to enforce it. You have to encourage when a dog does it, but you also have to discourage when a dog tries to break the rules. And so something that I work with owners on all the time I bring the dog in, I train the dog. After training, I go and I work with the owners for about half a day. And this happens 95% of the time with the owners. We're going on a walk, right? We're showing the owners the dog's heel and how we encourage it and all this. And I tell the owners this, and they're like, okay, yeah, got it. And then we start going on the walk. The owner tells the dog to heel. And heel to the dog means you have to pay attention to me. Wherever you're going, you can still look around. You have to pay attention to me. And you cannot pass the plane of the tip of my toes with your feet. You have to be engaged with me. And the dogs, every single time, especially like the 2-week board and trains where the dog hasn't had a crazy amount of experience here, the dog is used to his or her old rules at their own house, and they walk ahead an inch, especially when they get into the new owner's hands. The owner doesn't do anything. And so they walk ahead 2 inches. Doesn't do anything. And next thing you know, they're at the end of the leash. And so we have to show a dog, right? These are the rules of the game, and we're going to enforce these rules of the game consistently. And when you're doing a good job, you get paid constantly to do a good job. But if you break the rules even by a little bit, that's right. That's breaking the rules. We're not just going to let you get away with that. Here, another example, right? We're sitting in the living room. I tell my dog to stay on a place board. I'm like, awesome, cool. My dog stays. 5 minutes later, I get a phone call. I leave the room, and I forget about my dog. My dog is probably going to get off the couch, maybe push the boundaries, especially if they're a little bit into training. Nothing happens. They get off the couch. I've forgotten about this dog. And then I come back in the room. The dog's off the couch. The dog's out of their stay, and nothing happens. So they're like, okay, every time someone leaves the room, all rules are off, right? I can do whatever I want. And that's not what we do, right? We have to encourage a dog to do certain behaviors. And if we tell a dog to stay, stay means stay. If we tell a dog to sit, sit means sit. If we tell a dog to heel, heel means heel. Heel doesn't mean heel with a little bit of wiggle room. And so it's really important that owners understand all this. So the last thing I wanted to cover in this video for you guys, and this is something I work with owners all the time, is proportional punishment and proportional reinforcement. And by proportional, there's a wide range of punishment we can give a dog and a wide range of reinforcement we can give our dog. And there's also a wide range of infractions our dogs do. If I tell a dog that I'm training to sit in the living room and I have a treat, right, and they just decide to say no, that's a very minor infraction. right? We still have to address that issue, but that's a very minor infraction. If we're outside and a dog sees a squirrel and they chase after the squirrel and they're running across the street and there's a car driving by, whatever it is, you tell them to come and they don't come, that is a much more significant infraction than not sitting for a treat in the living room. And so we need to be able to communicate with our dogs what we want and what we don't want. And in order to do that, we have to show our dogs, hey, right, this was really bad. Right? It's not fair to a dog to give a really high correction for a very small infraction. This is something I talk to owners all the time. I introduce my dog to an e-collar, but I only use the buzz or the tone function on it. And the reason I always tell them that that's a terrible idea is because there's only one buzz function. There's only one beep function. And so back to that example, you tell your dog to sit in the living room for a treat and you buzz them and they hate the buzz, that's a really high correction for them. That's very different than them running away and then you also buzzing them. And so that's why we use the stimulation, right? There's 100 levels on this e-collar, and usually dogs are generally below 7 is their lowest level that we work with inside, right? We tell the dog to sit. We teach the dog how to turn off the pressure on the e-collar. We bring that outside. We need to be able to bump up these, right, the e-collar pressure. There's higher distraction. There's more going on, and an infraction is likely a little bit more serious when we're outside, when we're off leash, when we're working on all these things. And so, right, your dog you're outside, your dog sees something. It's not as fair to give the same exact correction as you do inside when it's a very small infraction. And so it's really important that owners understand this. We also do the same thing with positive reinforcement. It has to be, proportional. Right? You tell your dog to sit in the living room for a treat. Yeah, awesome. Here's a little treat. You tell your dog to come outside and they listen to you. That is deserving of 10 times at least what that payment they got for just sitting in the living room. And so everything is proportional that we do with the dogs. When we first introduce a dog to a prong collar, especially to teach them a heel, they don't know the rules of the game. This is the first time they're wearing a prong collar. We can't give a dog a really big correction. We have to, right, guide the dog to what we want to do. And if a dog is 3 weeks into training and they're on a prong collar, they're going to get a little bit more leash pressure because they know what we're communicating with them about. And again, right, same thing on the other side of that, positive reinforcement. At first, the dog doesn't know what we're doing. When the dog heels, yeah, they get paid a bunch. Once a dog understands the rules of the game, later on, a couple weeks into training, they know a heel. They still get paid, but they're not getting paid every 5 seconds, right? You don't want your relationship to be about just food. The point is, you have to use proportional communication with your dog at all times, and this is something that owners really need to understand because it would change so many dogs' life if owners just understood the proportionality of reinforcement and of punishment. Thank you for watching all the way through to the end. If you found any of these things helpful, any of these surprising, leave a comment below. And while you're on your way down to the comment section, there's a really handy like and subscribe button. Make sure you hit both of those. It really helps us out, and we'll see you in the next one.